The self-declared king of trash talk, Jake Paul, is once again involved in a contentious dispute, this time with Andrew Tate. Naturally, Jake has responded to the notorious Top G, who is well known for his alpha male language and self-promoting activities. But it is as predictable as his loud, egotistical lectures. The pattern is familiar to anyone who has followed Jake Paul's career. Loud, brazen declarations, a lot of trash talk, and the selective selection of opponents who are frequently either washed up or have no business competing. However, Jake's opponent this time is Andrew Tate, a man with legitimate credentials, a four-time world champion in kickboxing with a combat record. Tate is more than simply an online man promoting a toxic masculinity brand. No, Tate's statements are supported by actual combat experience. And how does Jake react? It's precisely what you would anticipate. As is typical of Jake, he rushes to his podcast, making his altercation with Tate into yet another inflated, egotistical show. Depending on who you ask, he has received both praise and blame for the same deed. However, upon closer examination, the whole situation turns into an intriguing display of exaggerated egos, conflicting identities, and one man who is obviously more concerned with maintaining his relevance than demonstrating his prowess in the ring. Jake's popularity, or rather, notoriety, has been based on controversy and showmanship. Despite his success, his boxing career has been characterized by overhyped fights against opponents that didn't exactly scream elite competition. He has faced people that were either past their peak or had no business in a boxing ring, such as YouTubers and former MMA fighters. Jake is now taking on Tate, a man with more than 70 combat sports victories. And how does Jake handle this difficulty? Through his mouth. In his characteristically arrogant manner, Jake claims that Tate is scared to join him in the ring. This is coming from the man who has avoided real challenges for more time than he has ever entered the ring to take them on. Jake's entire boxing career has been based on picking easy opponents. And now he's behaving like an experienced fighter prepared to face one of the best combat athletes. Really, it's laughable. Jake's boldness, however, is nothing new. By carefully crafting an image as a young, fearless fighter who is prepared to take on anyone, he has created a whole enterprise on self-promotion. However, upon closer inspection, it becomes evident that Jake is more concerned with maintaining his own reputation than putting his abilities to the test in a genuine competitive setting. He selects opponents carefully, arranges face-offs with fighters like Mike Tyson, and presents his followers with a story that is more about making social media sensations than it is about real combat. Nevertheless, Jake does what he does best, talk when Andrew Tate makes a valid challenge. He talks endlessly on his podcast about how Tate fears him and how he would fight Tate for nothing. But let's not overlook this situation's history. Jake's altercations have ranged from mediocre to downright embarrassing. Do you recall the prearranged confrontation with Mike Tyson? Or his alleged bout with Tommy Fury, which has been postponed more times than we can remember? Jake's credibility as a boxer is currently comparable to a poor reality TV program. It constantly promises something thrilling, but ends up offering very little. Jake's justification for Tate's refusal to fight him is hilarious. Jake says Tate is concerned about his alpha male image being harmed. This is from the man who is well known for personally selecting his opponents, ensuring that they are either past their prime or have no right to be in the ring at all. Calling out former MMA fighters and then declaring victory as like he's accomplished something noteworthy is Jake's idea of bravery. He's going into the ring with whoever can assist him keep up his public image, not with actual competition. There's more, though. On his show, Jake also spends some time talking about the concept of free speech, which is a little rich coming from someone who uses their position as a weapon to bash anyone who dared to challenge their inflated sense of self. It's like a used car salesperson preaching honesty when Jake talks about free speech. When your entire identity is based on deceit and self-aggrandizement, it's difficult to take seriously. What will Jake do next? To put Andrew Tate to the test again. Will he, however, follow through on it? Most likely not. When it comes to really fighting, Jake has a tendency to talk a lot and create these complex stories before retreating. Consider his continuous conflict with KSI. Despite years of back and forth, Jake has not ever entered the ring with KSI to end their dispute. As long as you're not placing yourself in danger of losing, it's simple to talk a big game. Let's now discuss Tommy Fury, Jake's longtime rival, whose altercation with Jake has been postponed so frequently that it's beginning to resemble a mediocre soap opera. There's always a new occasion for Jake to face Fury. Schedule conflicts, visa problems, or perhaps a gut instinct that losing against Jake would ruin your career. The fight never occurs, regardless of the cause. Despite this, Jake still uses social media to disparage Tommy, labeling him a coward and making a huge show of his alleged willingness to meet him in the UK. Jake now has the opportunity to show that he can hang out with someone who is genuinely skilled at fighting thanks to Andrew Tate. Will Jake accept the challenge, though? The chances are not favorable. It will be a spectacle and ego-driven fight in which Jake will be in over his head if he and Tate actually enter the ring. Tate is a four-time world champion with a solid record, not just some washed-up warrior out for a paycheck. Even if Jake has a lot of confidence, his talent level is still highly doubtful. Jake Paul and Andrew Tate's possible fight is one of those wild contests that might turn out to be fascinating. Even though Tate is a divisive figure, he at least knows what he's doing in a fight and brings actual combat expertise to the table. Conversely, Jake is the spokesperson for grandiose illusions. In 2022, he defeated Anderson Silva. However, it's important to remember that Silva was 47 years old at the time. Silva is a legend in mixed martial arts, but when he met Jake, his boxing career was far from at its best. However, Jake thinks that this victory somehow elevated him to the rank of a contender. Then Jake's most recent incident has him accusing Matchroom Boxing's boxing promoter Eddie Hearn of buying off judges to manipulate scorecards. Jake asserts that he is the source of information on a purported boxing corruption scam. Naturally, this is coming from a man who has built a living by staging drama and pulling viral pranks, so it's difficult to believe him when he says he's exposing corruption in the sport. Although Jake's charges are merely another attempt to maintain his reputation in the media, it is clear how far he will go to gain attention that he is prepared to make such accusations. The true query, though, is whether Jake will ever take on Andrew Tate in the ring. Will he ever confront someone who genuinely possesses the knowledge and expertise to turn this into a true battle? It's difficult to say. Jake Paul's career has been based more on show than content. He loves on the drama, the trash talk, and the mayhem of social media, but he hasn't done well in actual competition. If he fights Tate, it will probably be another overhyped spectacle in which Jake takes full advantage of the controversy. However, Jake's ego will always be at the heart of any argument, whether it's with Tate or someone else, since to him, it's all about the show. Ultimately, it doesn't really matter if Jake Paul and Andrew Tate ever enter the ring together. The spectacle, the drama, and Jake's ongoing drive to convince everyone that he is something he is not a serious competitor in the combat sports world are what count. No amount of disparaging remarks will alter the fact that Jake's fighting record is as questionable as his character. It will be about ego, not competence, if he ever faces someone like Andrew Tate. And it's obvious that Jake's ego is the one most likely to be knocked out in that fight.